I was saying that Haridas went from Benapol to Shantipur, but actually in between he came to Fulia, which is near Shantipur.
He came to?
Fulia, which is near Shantipur. And there he was living in a cave near the bank of the Ganga. Gufa. Guhai. Sanskrit. And there he was engaged in his usual chanting of the holy names and bathing in the Ganga and chanting and often dancing in ecstasy and exhibiting all the symptoms of topmost level of love of God. As seeing this, the local people, especially the local brahmanas, they could understand that he was a great devotee and they offered him all respect. And the fame of Haridas spread greatly in that area. However, the local magistrate or Qazi was a fanatic Muslim and was not pleased to know about this. He was afraid that if from his viewpoint, Haridas had converted from Islam to Hinduism, and he was afraid that other Muslims would also follow his example. So being of a very sinful mentality, he brought this complaint to the governor, the Nawab, who was also very sinful. And the Nawab had Haridas arrested and brought into his presence. Haridas wasn't even in the slightest bit afraid. He wasn't even afraid of death personified, so what to speak of being afraid of the Muslim rulers. So no, what happened actually? The king, the Nawab called for Haridas, and Haridas, when he got that news, then immediately he set off to see the Nawab, all the time loudly chanting the holy names of Krishna. The local pious persons who were very happy to see the bhakti of Haridas now became very sad and distraught that he was going to see the sinful Nawab. Now, so when he came to the king's place, he was placed in prison. The prisoners who already knew of Haridas's glories were delighted that he had come amongst them, and they thought that even in this prison we're getting some good opportunity, and that the distress due to our imprisonment will be vanquished. By earnestly entreating the guards, they persuaded them to allow them to see Haridas. Upon seeing Srila Haridas Thakur, all the prisoners immediately offered him obeisances. Actually, Haridas's bodily features were extraordinarily beautiful, which can be mentioned in the section on the prostitute praising him as beautiful. Just simply by offering obeisances to him, all the prisoners became ecstatic in Krishna consciousness. Seeing this, Haridas mercifully smiled upon them and blessed them, saying, "You just stay as you are." All the prisoners became morose to hear this. They thought he would bless them to be free from prison, but he was blessing them, "Stay as you are." But Haridas explained that at present your minds are fixed on Krishna, so stay in that consciousness. Now all of you within the prison can chant the names of Krishna. You're not being excessively harassed by anyone in this prison. So it's a good situation to be Krishna conscious. If you get out of prison and return to material enjoyment, then you'll forget Krishna. So my real blessing upon you is that you all remain fixed in devotion to Krishna. And anyway, don't worry. I'm sure within a few days you'll all be released from prison. When Haridas was called before the Nawab was amazed to see his brilliant bodily luster and respectfully offered Haridas a seat. And then he said to Haridas, "My dear brother, why, by your great good fortune, you've been born a Muslim, so why do you live like a Hindu? If we even see a Hindu, we consider it so contaminating that we cannot eat. So why have you given up the opportunity of being born in a high family? You're giving up your Muslim religion to act in the ways of others, then how will you attain salvation? But don't worry, you can be free from all these sinful activities by again coming to Islam." Hearing this, Haridas simply laughed and said, "Just see Vishnu Maya." And he explained to the Nawab how God is only one, as is stated both in the Puranas and the Quran. The Supreme, by whatever name He is called, He resides within the heart of everyone. He induces people to act in different ways, and He accepts the devotion of everyone. I am only acting under the inspiration of Him. So a Hindu Brahmana may become a Muslim. So he was implying that a Muslim can also become a Hindu. So you please consider, and if you think appropriate, you may punish me. All the Muslims there were satisfied with his explanation. But the sinful Qazi instigated the king to punish him, or at least recite the confession from the Quran. Or at least recite the Quran.
By the Nawab? Nawab should recite the...
No. The Nawab is speaking to Haridas. King, the Qazi is speaking to the Nawab and telling him how to order Haridas. So the Nawab requested Haridas, "You just recite the Quran and then you'll have no worries. Otherwise the Qazis will punish you and then you'll be anyway forced to recite the Quran and you'll be humiliated." Haridas said, "No one can do other than what the Supreme Lord desires. Even if my body is cut into pieces and in this way I give up my life, I will never give up the chanting of Harinam." Then the Nawab asked the Qazi what he wanted. The Qazi said, "Have him beaten in 22 marketplaces and in this way kill him. If he happens to survive, then only we can understand that what he is saying is true." The Qazi called the guards and told them to beat him in such a way that he will surely die. And he justified this heinous command by saying that if a Muslim who converts to a Hindu is thus punished, he can get free from the sin of conversion in this way. So as he was being mercilessly beaten in public, Haridas simply remembered the name of Krishna and wasn't in the slightest bit concerned. He felt no pain whatsoever. Later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Haridas that at that time I came to protect you. You did not feel any pain because I took the beating on my back. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time showed to Haridas scars on his back. So Haridas was being beaten so severely that any ordinary person would have been dead within 2 or 3 marketplaces. Pious people were deeply distressed to see this. And we're afraid that the sinful reactions terrible sinful reactions would descend on the state. But Haridas himself felt sorry for the offenses of the persons who are beating them and prayed to Krishna that they be forgiven for their offense. And those who are beating him were astonished to see that Haridas didn't seem in the slightest bit disturbed or affected by the beating. But after being beaten in 22 places, not only is he not dead, but he's going on and smiling. Considering him a great saint, they requested Haridas that if you don't die, then we will die. The Qazi will punish us. So Haridas smiled and said, okay, I'll die now then. And he entered into a deep meditation on Krishna. So deep that it appeared, he became completely still, his breathing stopped and he appeared as if dead. The guards were astonished, but they gratefully brought his body before the king to show, see, he's dead, to bury him. But the Qazi said, no. If you bury him, then he'll achieve a higher destination, which he does not deserve. Better to throw him in the Ganga. You see that whatever the Hindus consider proper, the Muslims consider the opposite. He said, if you throw him in the Ganga, then he'll suffer forever for that. So the guards took him to the bank of the Ganga, but when they tried to throw him, they found his body was so heavy it wouldn't go. But eventually Haridas became light again and they were able to throw him in his transcendental body in the Ganga. After floating down the Ganga for some distance, by the will of the Lord, he came to external consciousness. And in this, he came out of the water and in great ecstasy started off fully chanting loudly the name of Krishna. So then the Muslims became convinced about him. And even they offered him obeisances and in this way were delivered from material bondage. Shortly after this, Haridas, by chance, met the Nawab, and seeing him, Haridas began to laugh in a merciful way. With great respect, the Nawab joined his hands together and very humbly spoke to Haridas and admitted that, yes, you are a great personality. You don't just talk big, but you don't just talk big words, but you have actually attained perfection. Please forgive my offenses. Now you please go here and there and do as you like without any restriction. Now, in Fulia, he happened to come across a meeting of Brahmanas who, upon seeing him, they were very happy and they began to chant the names of Hari. And Haridas began to dance in ecstasy. Haridas said, don't feel sorry that I was punished. It was simply a result of simple reactions for my hearing so much blasphemy.
Reactions what?
It is a result of sinful reactions for my hearing blasphemy. Of course, a great devotee like Haridas is not subject to sinful reactions, but in humility he feels like that. So Haridas continued with his chanting day and night until people of the area came to visit him in his cave on the bank of the Ganga. But when they came to his cave, they all felt an intense burning sensation. And the local Ayurvedic physicians, they ascertained that this must be due to the presence of a large poisonous snake. Anyone who came there they couldn't stay for more than a few moments because of the burning sensation. So they mentioned this to Haridas. Haridas said that I don't feel any burning sensation. But they told him that there's a big snake here and it's not good to live with the snake. You should probably go somewhere else. Haridas said, I've been staying here now for quite a few days and I don't feel any inconvenience. But if you feel inconvenience, then I will. Then if this snake, if there is a snake and it doesn't leave by tomorrow, then I will leave and go to some other place. So don't be disturbed. Let us all together chant the names of Krishna. So as they did so, they saw slithering out of the cave a huge snake. And as he left, the burning sensation left with him. Another day there was a snake charmer. And he was in the courtyard of a wealthy man. And music was being played and he was dancing to that.
The
snake charmer, yes. And he was chanting some mantras and he was possessed by this, or the Vasuki, the king of the snakes, had entered into his body. Or it says the king of snakes, so it could mean Shesha, or it could mean Ananta Shesha or Vasuki. So by chance, Haridas happened to come while this was going on. The snake charmer was very loudly and very sweetly singing about Krishna's dancing on the and subduing the Kaliya scene. Hearing this, Haridas fell unconscious. After some moments, he got up, roared loudly, and began to dance in ecstasy, and exhibited all the transcendental symptoms of love of God. The snake charmer respectfully stood on one side with his hands folded. Then Haridas came to external consciousness, and the snake charmer again began his dance. And the people present, they were very happy to see Haridas's ecstasy, and with great respect took the dust from his footprints and wiped it all over their bodies. Present there was one so-called Brahmana who was of a very duplicitous mentality. And he thought that, well, this Haridas is just an illiterate fool, and people are respecting him so much because he danced a little bit, so I will also dance. So imitating Haridas Thakur, he crashed to the ground, motionless, near to the dancing snake charmer. Seeing this, the snake charmer grabbed a stick and started beating him severely. So the Brahmana came out of his supposed ecstasy and ran away screaming. And the snake charmer went on with his dance, and everyone was astonished. After the snake charmer finished his dance, they all respectfully asked him, why did you respect Haridas when he was dancing and so severely treat the Brahmana?
So
It was doing the same thing. The snake charmer said because Haridas's ecstasy was real, and the Brahmana was just imitating him to try to get some respect. There were many such pastimes. One day there were some people who were very appreciative of Haridasa and others who were very much against him. One sinful Brahmana picked up an argument with Haridasa and challenged him that you should not chant the name of Hari loudly, it should only be chanted quietly. And Haridas gave he gave many quotations from scripture proving that the loud chanting of the holy name is better or more desirable than the silent chanting. Because by chanting quietly, only oneself is delivered. By chanting loudly, others are also delivered. Unable to defeat his argument, the Brahmanas simply started blaspheming Haridas. But all the persons present there were of sinful mentality and supported the sinful Brahmana. So soon after that wretched Brahmana had an attack of smallpox, and his nose melted away and fell off. From Fulia, Haridas went to Shantipur, as mentioned before, and then proceeded to Navadvip. This is all before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there was a relatively small community of Vaishnavas there and many non-devotees. And the non-devotees would blaspheme the Vaishnavas in so many ways. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Navadvip, then after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, and then after some time he manifested his Sankirtan pastimes, in which Haridas was a principal participant. And it was Nityananda and Haridas he sent as the first preachers. He told them to go door to door and beg everyone to worship Krishna, chant the names of Krishna, and learn about Krishna. And they were these two were instrumental in delivering, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deliverance of Jagai and Madhai, which I described in that small book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are actually many pastimes of Haridas Thakur. I can't explain them all now. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Navadvip and took sannyas, he went to live in Puri, and Haridas was one of the devotees who he left Navadvip also and came to stay with Mahaprabhu in Puri. Out of his humility, even though he was accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the topmost devotee, Haridas, considering himself low-born, never entered or even came near the Jagannath temple. Nor would he go to the house of Kashi Mishra where Mahaprabhu was staying. That was also close to the temple is one thing. Another thing is because of Brahmin residence, he didn't go there. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arranged a place of residence for Haridas Thakur close to his own residence. And although Haridas was, according to social convention, not allowed to go to see the Supreme Lord, because of his because of Haridas's intense devotion, the Supreme Lord, it means he couldn't go to see the Supreme Lord as Jagannath, but the Supreme Lord, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to see him daily. Haridas actually came a little after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Puri, when the first group of devotees came from Bengal to see. And after that, Haridas stayed in Puri. Now more than 200 devotees came from Bengal, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, well, where is Haridas? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, where is Haridas? And Haridas was remaining at the back, on the side, just offering his obeisances. The devotees called Haridas and said, Mahaprabhu wants to see you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time he said, I'm not fit to go anywhere near the temple, but if some place can be arranged for me, some solitary place where I can't contaminate anybody, then I can remain there. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to see Haridas, Haridas offered him his obeisances, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted him up and firmly embraced him. Haridas was upset that I'm untouchable, please don't touch me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I must touch you so that I can become purified, because you are more pure than me. That place where Haridas stayed is called Siddha Bakur.
Siddha Bakur.
Yeah. One time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed to Haridasa Thakur that how can the people of Kali Yuga be saved from their sinful condition? They're so sinful. Especially you see these Muslims, they kill a cow and they're inimical to the Brahmanas and to Vedic culture. But Haridasa said that in their language they say the word Haram. So by saying the name of Ram in this way, they will be delivered. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, well, what about the animals and the trees and the lower species who can't chant the birds? They can't chant the holy names. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are chanting Hare Krishna, and simply by hearing you chanting, so many species of life are delivered. Sanatana Goswami praised Haridas by saying that you are the topmost of Mahaprabhu's associates. That some people act properly, they follow the rules and regulations of devotional service very nicely, but they don't preach Krishna consciousness. And some others preach Krishna consciousness, but they don't follow all the rules and regulations very properly. But you, Haridas, do both. Therefore you are the guru of everyone and the topmost person in the whole universe. Now Haridas, he knew that what happened? One time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent his servant Govinda to bring some prasad to Haridas. But one day Govinda found Haridas lying down, appearing sick. He was already quite old by this time. So Govinda said, what's wrong, Haridas? You look quite sick. And Haridas said, my real sickness is that it's difficult for me to chant my full quota of rounds. So Govinda reported this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu came and told him that you're already reached perfection. You don't have to continue with this chanting now that you're old. And Haridas then said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you please hear my real plea.
Real?
Plea.
Yes.
My Lord, you will not remain in this world very long. I do not wish to see your disappearance pastimes. Let me leave before you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Haridas, how can the world go on being bereft of your association? But Haridas said, if an ant dies, what is the loss to the world? The next day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back with all his associates and started describing the life and glories of Haridasa Thakur. All the devotees were astonished to hear this. Then Kirtan began. And in the midst of this tremendous Kirtan, Haridas, sitting in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, took Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and placed them on his chest. And gazing at the lotus face of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, he left this world. The kirtan became more and more ecstatic and louder. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up Haridasa's body and carrying that danced in ecstasy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some time, they washed the body in the sea and made a samadhi on the beach. The sea at Puri is called Mahodadhi, and is considered a great holy place. Generally the sea is considered a holy place, especially the eastern coast of India, because all the great rivers flow there, whereas only one flows, only the Narmada flows west. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that now this sea has become a even much greater place of pilgrimage, because Haridasa's body has been bathed here after his passing away. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally arranged his disappearance festival and said that anyone who participates in this or even remembers this will attain Krishna consciousness. And after telling the devotees to after the festival, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his place, Gambhira, with a mixture of joy and sadness. So these pastimes of the Lord's devotees are all very wonderful. They are collected from various sources, but you can read them all in full in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata, and so many other books.